Hey guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, welcome. You can call me Serene, and today I'm going to be sharing all of the tools that you would need on your candle making journey. These are going to be the tools that I've used over the years, from making small batches of candles to bigger batches. Let's dive right in. The first thing that I'm going to say that you need on your candle making journey is a wax melter or a double boiler. Now, if you're making small batches of candles, you can start making them using the double boiler method. And if you're not familiar with that, you're basically just using a pot with some water and putting a pitcher with the wax inside that pot. And what that basically does is just melt the wax using the heat from the water. But with my experience and making smaller batches of candles, that is a perfect method that you can start with. But as you grow in your business, I would definitely recommend using a wax melter because that's going to be much more convenient for bigger batches of candles. I say this because if you're using the double boiler method to make bigger batches of candles, it's going to take you hours and hours to melt the wax. And that can get really frustrating because you're going to be spending most of your time waiting for the wax to melt as opposed to completing other tasks. And when you're making bigger batches of candles using the double boiler method, you're going to have to constantly add more water into the pot as it evaporates. So having a wax melter has definitely changed the game for me as I started making bigger batches of candles. It makes it much more easier for me to melt bigger batches of wax in a short amount of time. So while my wax is melting, I can definitely take care of other tasks like setting up my jars and preparing everything else. And the great thing about having a wax melter is that you can turn it on, set a specific temperature, and it's gonna melt the wax to that temperature and stay at that temperature until you turn off the wax melter. Now, you may look at the prices for a wax melter and be turned off, but there are several different sizes out there that can help you on your journey, from a small little wax melter to something much bigger for bigger businesses. Now, the next thing that you're gonna need are pouring pitchers, which is what you're gonna be pouring your wax into as you're making the candles. These are made with metal and they're very convenient for mixing your scents into the wax. And one of the best things that I find for me is that they don't hold the temperature for a very long time. So as opposed to a Pyrex, I would say the temperature of the wax once it's in the pitcher gradually goes down. With a Pyrex, the glass is gonna hold the temperature not only for a long time but throughout the whole glass. Pouring pitchers typically have a handle where you can actually hold the pitcher and not feel any heat whatsoever as you're doing the process. I definitely recommend buying multiple pitchers because if you're making large batches and you're making different scents, you're not gonna want to wash the pitcher each and every single time that you make one set of candles. It also helps you with making bigger batches because you can pour and mix more scents and more wax at a time. Another thing is a scale. Now, you may find different scales, but I like a digital scale because it helps measure everything more accurately. From my wax to my scents to my actual candles, I can actually just put everything on the scale and it's gonna tell me the exact amount that I have, which is gonna prevent any fluctuations throughout my candle making process. And in relation to that, you're definitely gonna need a thermometer to measure the temperature of the wax. This is gonna be very convenient for the pouring temperature, the mixing temperature, and I also like using my thermometers as stirring sticks as opposed to actually buying extra stirring sticks because they're already sitting in the wax, so might as well just use them. So if you don't want to purchase any stirring sticks, I definitely say that you can use your thermometers, but if you want, you can also purchase some stirring sticks as well. The better versions that I would recommend are wooden or silicone so that they don't hold the temperature. Another thing you're gonna need, of course, throughout the process is a heat gun. Now, there's a lot of debates about whether you actually need a heat gun throughout the candle making process, and my recommendation is that you definitely do, not only to smoothen the top layers of the candle, but it also helps with fixing any mistakes that you may make because, as we know, some of us, we have hands that shake, especially as a beginner. Using a heat gun is going to help with the mistakes and fixing them. Not only that, I've also used the heat gun for other reasons, from heating my glass jars when the temperature of the room is a little bit colder. This helps with preventing sinkholes and evenly cooling the candles down. I also use my heat gun when I'm making the candles and I accidentally spill wax on top of my counter counters to make it easier for me to wipe that off. And it is also very convenient for when you make accidental spills on the candle jars themselves. So rather than having to scrape them off using a tool, you can easily melt the candle wax from the jar and wipe it off. And this leads me to another tool that you're definitely gonna need, which are towels. You're not only gonna need them to wipe your jars, you're gonna need them to clean your wax melter, the pitchers, and also wipe away any dust from the jars as you're making your candles, because those can mess with the candle making process as well. So definitely invest in some microfiber towels if you can. And the next thing on the list is gonna be candle jars or candle tins. You're gonna need some type of container to hold the candles if you're making jar candles. Now, if you're making some different type of candles like votive or pillar candles, you're definitely not gonna need a container. All you're gonna need are the molds, but make sure that each and every single one of those things that you invest into are heat resistant so they don't crack as your customers are burning their candles, and so that you don't waste your money. And of course, you're gonna need the essentials like the wicks, the wick tabs, the wick holders, all those tools that are necessary throughout the process, because how is it that you're gonna burn a candle without a wick inside of it? And how is it that you're gonna hold your wick in place as you're pouring your candle wax into the jar? For me, when I'm making different candles, depending on the size of the jar, I know that I make some homemade wick holders. You can tune into that video to see, but depending on what it is that you're making, you can definitely find some cheap ones online, on Amazon, or anywhere on the internet. But some of us may not be as accurate when it comes to centering our wicks. So what I would recommend is a wick centering tool. They have several different types. For me specifically, I don't use them simply because I eyeball where my wicks are gonna be each and every single time, and I find that I'm very accurate when it comes to that. So I am not familiar of where specifically that you can get them, but I'm sure there is somewhere online. And since we're speaking about wicks, the next thing that I'm gonna mention is a wick trimmer. This is gonna be the tool that you use to basically cut your wick down to the correct size after you make your candles. And trust me when I say that you don't specifically need to purchase a wick trimmer. There are several different tools around your house that you can definitely use as a wick trimmer. For instance, I have used a cuticle remover as a wick trimmer. I have used scissors as well, and I have actually used an actual wick trimmer. So if you have any of those tools in your home, you can definitely use them as opposed to having to purchase a new tool. And one of the things that I love doing is cutting my wick down to the precise length that my customers would need to burn the candle at for the first burn. I find that this is easier for them to use their candles in their first burn, because a lot of times we know that a lot of people don't actually trim their candle wicks. The next thing you're gonna need is gonna be warning labels. This is gonna be the instructions that tells your customers about the safety procedures that they need to follow as they burn their candles. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people that don't know the proper way to burn their candles. They may end up leaving them unattended in a room for a long period of time and eventually forget to blow them out, and that can lead to a fire hazard. So having the warning labels on the bottom of the candles definitely help prevent that, and it also helps with protecting you at the end of the day, because you are responsible for informing your customers. And with that, we also have other labels like the actual labels for your candles, along with the labels that you're gonna need for your branding, for your boxes, or anything in general referring to your business. And the last couple of things are very easy and very cheap, but they're very much needed because throughout the process you may experience a lot of mistakes. So you're gonna need some aprons, some gloves to protect yourself. I have definitely experienced a lot of spills and a lot of mistakes as I was starting on my candle making journey. So these are the candle tools that I specifically have used throughout my candle making journey that are a necessity for each and every single candle maker. I would definitely recommend investing into each and every single one of the tools that I mentioned in this video. They're gonna make the process way more easier, way more seamless, and way more fun for you without the stress of not having the right equipment. If you're looking for any recommendations, please let me know in the comments below, and I will try my best to guide you in the right direction. I hope this video was informative, and until next time.